Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with another podcast this week, joined by John again. How are you today, John?
Suffering from hay fever.
Hay fever, yes. Hay fever is in the air. It's not a good time if you do suffer from it. I also suffer from hay fever on the antihistamine pills, as yourself, I imagine.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be doing a lot though.
No, and we're not actually in spring, but it's the
evergreen trees, the pine trees and things. That are sort of
the ones that the people put up to sort of like there's a barrier on their
basically
fences.
Basically across the whole of Rivas, so it's like the fence of every single house you go past in Rivas.
That's right, yeah,
it's killing me at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely terrible. But how's your week been? I saw that you were at the tourism fair.
Yeah, it's the first year I've been to that fair. One of my friends from cricket was going, and I've just started trying to set up my new little mini business, bringing sports teams over from other parts of Europe, especially the UK, football and cricket and things. So,
have you brought any over yet? Or?
I had a couple which I've organised through a company in the UK where I've hosted them here, plus obviously my cricket tournaments in La Manga. But I'm sort of more interested in getting something started in Madrid now, so I don't have to travel quite so much. So we've the company that I'm going to be working with have basically got contracts with Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid and stuff, and they'll be bringing over academies and things. It's actually really, really cool. Yeah.
Okay, good. So bringing over some of the bigger teams.
Well, yeah, I mean, the academies will be, obviously they're the ones that basically produce footballers in the UK for the leagues in the UK, I'm guessing, and they've got links to some of the big clubs in the UK and stuff, but the academies themselves come over and they get to train with the Real Madrid academies and that in Valdebebas or down in Atletico and stuff, and then we try and get them set up sort of around Rivas if we can now, in the hotels in Rivas, and they can have friendly games against the teams in Rivas, and I basically look after their accommodation, their restaurants and the food requirements and good. Transport.
Yeah, good. Dealing with the all of those things to make sure their stay is as pleasant as possible, I suppose, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'd say I've just helped out so far. I haven't actually started the business part of it yet, but we're starting to get into some bookings coming in now. So
cool.
Yeah, it should be good for the near future.
And of course, the tourism fair was marred by the taxi strike, and you were a first-hand witness.
Yeah, I mean, I knew the taxis were on strike that day. I was going by metro anyway, so it wasn't going to affect me. Well, I didn't think it would. And then when we got to the line that actually goes to Ifema, I mean, the metro was just absolutely jam-packed solid. There was queues of people just to go up the stairs, let alone get on the trains. And then, of course, we get to Fitur and Ifema. We get out the metro station, and all of a sudden, all you can see is just police vans like going right across the roads. You got the taxi drivers. It's like, I don't know how many of them there were. There's hundreds or thousands of them.
I think it was every taxi in Madrid, because I was in the centre. I was in the Gran Via earlier that morning. I think it was Wednesday, was it?
It was Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah. So I was in the Gran Via, and there was not a taxi to be seen in the centre of Madrid.
No. They're all on strike, and then they're setting fires in the middle of the road and everything.
Yeah. Well, they blocked off. They blocked off the main, the M40 road, which is one of the main ring roads around Madrid. They managed to block that off a couple of days.
Before, wasn't it? Yeah.
No, but they did it on the Wednesday as well.
Oh, they did it on the Wednesday as well.
Yep.
Didn't they run an Uber driver was trying to sort of get away from the taxi drivers and stuff, and one of the taxi drivers actually jumped onto his car or something and ended up really hurting himself.
Yeah, well,
and then they blamed the Uber driver for running him over. So I think it was a bit of 50-50 there, really.
Yeah. Well, they're resorting to like a type of guerrilla warfare against these Uber and Cabify drivers. If you don't know what Cabify is, it's the sort of the Spanish version of Uber, quite popular here. We've got both Uber and Cabify here at the moment, and this has been an ongoing war now for the last 3 years maybe between the taxi drivers and Uber.
Yeah, it must be at least 3 years now.
Yeah, I remember in the first case they came and they were banned. The judge banned Uber in Spain, Then they obviously challenged that decision. They popped up again, and Cabify came onto the scene as well. Taxi drivers again went on strike. The government started to weigh in. They reached some type of an agreement. The cars were allowed back on the road, and I think for the second time in 12 months, they're on strike again.
Yeah.
And this time it's an indefinite strike in both Barcelona. I think Barcelona's...
Didn't they start as well?
Well, I think they started it, but I think they've come to an agreement now in Barcelona.
Okay.
But in Madrid, they haven't come to an agreement yet with the local government or the regional government or whoever it is that is dealing with this. I think in Barcelona they've come to an agreement that they want to make it that you have to book one of these different Uber or Cabify. You have to book it 1 hour in advance.
Okay.
The taxi drivers wanted 24 hours in advance.
Okay.
Uber was willing to settle on 15 minutes in advance. But I think in the end, the government said that it has to be an hour in advance.
Yeah, I mean, 15 minutes wouldn't have actually made any difference because it takes
that long anyway.
It takes 15 minutes for the taxi to turn up.
But Uber's now threatening to leave Barcelona. They don't agree with the hour. With that hour prior hour policy, let's say. So they're threatening to leave. I have the app, so they sent me an email yesterday telling me to sign a petition. And here in Madrid, I know that Cabify have offered to include the taxis in their platform, because one of the big problems the taxis have is they don't have a good app to compete with.
There are some though, aren't there?
There are some, but it's not a single app. Do you know what I mean? Okay. So there's it was one called Radio Taxi. I think there's another one as well. Okay. So they're not united on that front. Whereas all of the Cabify drivers and the Uber drivers are going through the same app.
Yeah.
And so they're going to be included in the rating system, I think, but I don't think the taxis are willing to go down that particular line just yet. So they're maintaining the strike. I don't think they reached the levels of violence or hooliganism or whatever you want to call it that they reached on Wednesday, by burning, I
don't know what they were burning, but there was something burning.
They were burning benches. They were burning street benches,
But this is where I lose all respect for it, because I can understand them going on a strike. I can understand why they're upset about it. I can see from both points of view. I think having a monopoly of a service is not the right road to go down. So they've had a monopoly for years, decades. Uber and Cabify are a really good competition for them. I think that's good for the consumer. But at the same point, you can really see where these taxi drivers are coming from. A lot of them have had to pay 120,000, 150,000 euros for a license to drive a taxi here. Yep. They have to have really strict checks on the cars. They have to have their own car and everything. And the Uber drivers aren't under any of this sort of legislation, and they don't. I think they pay 36 euros for a license, not 120,000. Yeah. So you can understand where the taxi drivers are coming from, but
I think there is
something has to be done.
I think there is something there that the taxi drivers. It's not that they have to pay 150, but that's what that business has turned into. Do you know what I mean? The original license that you got from the council wasn't 150,000 euros, but the reselling value that industry has created has inflated the prices to 150,000. Yeah. And that's what they're complaining about, obviously, as well as, it's not only here, it's in other countries around the world as well. That's what they're saying is that, I'm paying 150,000 euros for a business, and somebody comes in and cuts my business in half, and they're not paying the same amount of money as me. And then the Uber drivers are saying, well, you didn't have to pay that amount of money. That's what someone charged you to buy that license, And let's be honest. Uber's been around for a few years in the States. It's not a new company. It's probably been around for 5, 6, 7 years in the States.
Yeah,
maybe?
I don't know how long it's been around, but it's fairly new.
And you could probably read the writing on the wall that they were going to try to dominate the world. They were going to try to go into every market.
Yeah.
But taxi drivers are holding on.
But the thing is, the taxi drivers are paying this money because there was a limited amount of licenses available in Madrid. Yeah. So, of course, the price went up and up because there was demand for this work. It was work that was actually getting decent money a few years back. So people were paying that because they were buying a business. But what they're arguing about is the fact that the Uber drivers come in, they haven't got to buy a license, the same license as what the taxi drivers have got, but they're doing basically the same service.
Yeah.
And of course it isn't fair. So I mean, in my opinion, I think something needs to be done to compensate the taxi drivers for their outlay money wise.
Well, I think that's what they're trying to negotiate. And Cabify also said that they're willing to start some I don't know whether it was even a crowdfunding type of thing, where they to try and work this out, or put a part of their profits into like some type of pool to help these drivers out. I'm not sure, but they seem to be trying to help the situation. I don't know. I mean, the taxi service in Madrid, it's always been one of these. I mean, coming from Australia, taxis in Perth, for example, were absolutely terrible. You know, you could. I don't think you could actually stop a taxi in the street like you can here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you just walk outside the street.
I mean, not in London's different because it's a capital city, but back in my town, you have to call.
You have to call, mate. Well, that's similar in Perth.
Or go to a taxi rank.
Yeah, so similar in Perth. Perth's like a 2 million, population. But here, one of the advantages the taxis had was that they were just cruising around all the time. Saw a taxi come past with the green light on, stick your hand up, yell or whatever, they'd stop, you hop in and away you go. The service, in my opinion, was never very good. You know, you'd get into cars in the middle of summer, the air conditioning wasn't on. The driver had been having a smoke probably just before you got in as well. Cleanliness wasn't the order of the day in a lot of taxis. And I've actually had, I think on one occasion, I actually had a verbal argument with a taxi driver once because he didn't want to take me to a place that was too close. I can't remember exactly what the argument was.
I've had discussions with taxi drivers before about my destination. They didn't want to take me somewhere or something. It's like, well, you're a taxi. Yeah. So, I mean, they're not very well seen, let's say, they don't have a good opinion from a public point of view. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people, you read the comments here, taxi drivers are not, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not everybody's favourite, let's say. Okay, not popular.
And then along comes Uber, along comes Cabify, where you hop into the taxi, it's clean. The driver's normally well dressed. The air conditioning's on. The windows are tinted. They offer you a bottle of water in the case of Cabify. You can see where you're going because you've got an app, so there's no chance of you getting ripped off if you're a tourist, which can happen as well. Yeah. And you can pay through the app or whatever, and the price is normally up front. So you can see that, to go from Madrid to here, you can see the price, 31 euros or whatever. Whereas a lot of people complained in the past that taxis, they didn't have that transparency, know.
I think my issues, the only issues I've ever had personally using taxis is when, I've asked for a trip from Madrid to Rivas, and I said, can you give me an idea how much it'll be? Yeah, it'll be about 25 euros, and I get here and it's 40. You think, well, I can understand if it's 28 euros or something, a few euros 15, extra. I mean, but we're talking about 15 euros difference. That's a lot of money. And it wasn't as if I was coming extremely sort of to the opposite end of Rivas. I was going into the centre of Rivas from the very first exit of Rivas. I was like, well, where's this extra 15 euros come from? Yeah. But I've had that discussion before, and people that haven't actually, taxi drivers that haven't actually wanted to take me to Rivas because, I'll finish in 45 minutes.
Bit out of the way.
That's it. Like, but you're a taxi.
Well, that's something that every time I talk it, especially if you went into Madrid, because remember here the metro used to, now it's changed, but it used to close at about 10:30 even on a Friday night or 11 o'clock.
But it used to. Up until a month ago, it literally just started.
So if you went into Madrid, you were going to have to take a taxi back. It's really the only way to get, because even the green buses, it happens once every hour or something.
Once an hour, I always got the bus back because I wasn't trying to avoid 40 euro taxi fee.
Well, especially when you
wait an hour for a bus. Yeah.
Well, especially when you're going into Madrid, so you're looking at a minimum 25 for a meal. Couple of drinks on top of that's another 25, and then another 25 or 40 in your case for a taxi. I think the most I've ever paid is about 32 or 33.
Really?
Yeah, because I always made my way to the edge of the city, like Conde de Casal, to try and get it from there, so it's going to be a bit cheaper. But I can remember some of the worst experiences I've had in taxis. I was just telling you one before where I hopped in a taxi, and it was like a religious shrine. The guy had pictures of Jesus and the Virgin Maria all over the cab, and he was listening to a radio station called Radio Maria. Do you know Radio Maria?
I know it. I don't really listen to it, I've got to say.
It's like a religious station where they broadcast the church masses.
Yeah.
A lot of the day. So 10 o'clock, and at 12 o'clock, which is apparently the Catholic hour. I didn't know this until I was in the taxi. That when the clock strikes 12, this man did it, so I suppose that a lot of other people do it as well. They do the 12 crosses.
Yeah.
And he stopped the taxi to do that. We're driving, he stopped the taxi and he did those 12. I'm thinking, well, what about me? I'm in the back here, You've got a customer in the back of the taxi, what's going to happen? So when he finished that, he took off again, and we got to our destination. I paid him and I left. But that's an experience that you don't really want to, if you're not.
Yeah. Mate, he should have told you, I'm going to have to stop for 30 seconds or something before he actually took you.
It was only 30 seconds, exactly. Yeah. It wasn't a long period of time, but the fact that you have to stop to do that, I thought was a bit strange. I don't know whether you'd get that in a Cabify or an Uber taxi. I have no idea, but I think it's just the competition factor, because if you go to the center of Madrid now, not only do you have these alternative taxis, but you've also got the car to go system, which is like car sharing.
Yeah, you started off with was it Blue Move? No, Blue Move. Blue something or other. It was a car.
I don't know, but there's 3 or 4 of them now.
There was a few different companies. Started off a good few years ago as well.
Yeah.
It's about 6 years ago. It started off where you can pay literally €2 to hire a car for to go a couple of miles down the road. You park it up and then off you go.
Yeah, all through an app as well.
Yeah.
So the app unlocks the car and there's car to go. I think that's one. There's another one called eMove. There's another one called Weebly, and they all belong to the car manufacturers. Like Car2Go belongs to Mercedes, eMove belongs to Citroën or Peugeot, I'm not sure. Another one belongs to Kia. So they're also competition for the taxis. And there were cases a couple of years ago where these cars were having their tyres slashed. They were having they were having their headlights broken because you park them on the side of the street.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I don't know whether that still happens, but they're very anti-competition. And I don't know about you, but competition is everywhere nowadays.
Competition is necessary. I don't think it should ever be a monopoly of anything anywhere. If you've got a monopoly, obviously the service tends to go down because you've got nothing to fight against. You've got nothing to improve your quality to compete for customers. Monopolies aren't good. So that I don't agree with, and certainly don't agree with violence or vandalism to try and stop people from using another service.
Yeah, well, vandalism, that's the word, exactly. Yeah, becoming vandals in order to protect your monopoly. But we'll see how this ends. I'm not quite sure how it's going to end. So, keeping on the topic of traffic, we spoke a little bit last week about the cyclists in Madrid, and some of the problems. We talked about maybe installing a dash cam. Said it's. I was looking it up the other day. It's not illegal and it's not illegal. There's
sort of grey area.
Yeah, there's a grey area. So you can't actually use it in an insurance case. I don't think they won't accept that video evidence. You're not allowed to film, as you said last week. You can't film the police or any other type of official service. People that are doing that type of job, police or even firemen, I don't think.
Yeah.
And you can't film people or license plates in the street as well, apparently.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit limited to what you can do.
Why can't you video license plates? I don't get that.
Because it's the data protection laws that they have.
There's no data on it. It's just the license plate. You haven't got anyone's name or address or anything.
Yeah, I don't know. That's
I can imagine if you had the license plate there and you were filming a person and you put his name up on the screen or something saying this person next to his car with but if it's just a license plate, you go down the street, you see license plates all over the place.
Well, I have no idea, but
that doesn't make any sense.
That's just what I read. So road rage is what I want to talk about. Now, have you ever experienced road rage in Spain?
Yeah. Experienced road rage here before, and in my experience, it tends to be the ones that are normally like really cross are the ones actually doing something wrong in the first place, and then they don't like the fact that you
call them out,
bib the horn because they've just cut you up, and I was like that, and then they start getting all stroppy and waving their arms around and shouting, and it was crazy.
But that's every day.
That's every day. I mean, the worst thing I've ever had was actually someone actually become physically violent while we were driving.
Oh, really?
That was about good 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago. They were changing the A3, which is for the viewers, it's the national highway that goes to Valencia, and it's the main road that goes from Rivas into Madrid. And they were changing the exit of the A3, so there was a service road to come in like a lot earlier than what it was before, and there was roadworks there. So these roadworks have been there for, I don't know, 6 months or so. The exit that we were taking was the same one as always, and there was a big queue of traffic always to go into this this road. So I was basically going into this road, and just as I was about to go into the service road, a big van came up and pulled right alongside me as if he was going to go in front of me. But there's no way he was getting through the little gap that there was between the big concrete blocks and my van. So I just went forward, and he pulled in behind me. And then he's bibbing and as if I'd done something wrong. But he'd like jumped the whole of this mile-long queue and try and squeeze through this tiny little gap in front of me. And I was like, well, what are you getting stroppy at? So I just ignored him. But he kept bibbing and still waving his arms. And I'm like, I don't know what this guy's doing. And then he literally pushed my van with his van. He went right the way up, hit my bumper, and started pushing my van forward as I was there.
Did you do an insurance?
No. I actually went to the right-hand lane. I was going to pull off into the first petrol station, and he went behind me, pulled into the exit, and actually blocked me from going off into that thing to pull over. And pulled down his window and started shouting at me, I'm going to kill you, and all this. I was like, what is this guy on? And he had another guy in the van. And I'm like, I literally said to him, so what is your problem? I said, you just hit me. I'm trying to pull over so I can see if there's any damage and you can give me your insurance details. I'm going to kill you if you stop this van. I'm going to kill you. And I was like, it's not my van. It's the company van. He's hit me in the back. It'll be covered on the insurance. We had fully common. So I just carried on that road. I'm not going to stop with this guy doing it, and I couldn't stop anyway because he was stopping me from pulling over. So I carried on, and then he pulled back in and went behind me, and now he pulled up onto my left hand side and started hitting my van. He was like the guy, his passenger. I went on the window, started hitting the van and everything. Yeah, it was getting really physically violent. And I was like, I had enough of this. I mean, I'm not a small guy, I'm like, fair enough. You want to have a problem, or let's have a problem. So I actually, now he was on the left hand side, I could pull off into the petrol station. Pulled off into the petrol station, and as soon as I did that, he was like, and sped off, and I like,
kept on going.
Yeah. But I look at the van, there's nothing wrong with it. But it's just a complete nutter. What are you going to do?
Yeah, that's the issue with road rage incidents.
Half the time you just got to ignore it and just carry on because you get yourself into real mess if
you can do.
If you confront these people.
Yeah, I agree with the one where that people get angry when they do something wrong and they don't want you to tell them that they've done something wrong. You know? And that happens all the time. Especially that there's a conflictive area here. There's a shopping complex down the road here, and there's always cars coming in and out, and people don't know where they're going. And every day, someone comes out of the shopping centre and sort of half comes onto the road, and you sort of nearly hit them, and you beep, and they sort of, say, what do you, what's your problem? And the problem is that
I'm here. You hit me.
Exactly. And every day you can have an issue. I think people, obviously this is obviously a fact that when people get behind the wheel, some people transform into other people, and they're in this little protective space, and they feel free to let a few expletives go and get a little bit angry and stressed, and everyone's in a hurry. You know, everyone wants to get to their destination first. And
definitely, especially in the school runs in the mornings.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, that's a nightmare.
Well, you can see here with the school just across the road. I mean, I've actually seen cases there where parents, you know, they don't come to fisticuffs, of course, but
they've confronted each other.
Well, there's double parking, and one can't get out, and somebody parks in the handicapped space all the time. They're not handicapped, of course. People park in front of the garages, not letting cars come in and out as well.
That must happen to you a fair bit. I mean, you're right.
Someone parks there every day.
Really?
Yeah, so I just don't worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, somebody parked there, and I went out and spoke to them. I said, look, where I come from, we don't park in front of people's garages. And they said, well, where I come from, which is this country, we do. Well, fuck you, you know. And I thought about slashing the tires, but I didn't have the sign up. Do you know the sign that you put up which says
Valo?
That's right. And he said, well, you haven't got the sign up. And I said, well, you don't actually have to have the sign up, because you pay for that automatically, whether you've got one or not. It's charged every year. You pay €35 to whether you put the sign up or not. It's a space, you know, that you're not really allowed to park in. But every day somebody parks in front of the garage here, so I just
it's not worth arguing about.
No, it's not worth arguing about. You know, if you try to get the car out and there's someone parked there, obviously that's a different story.
Yeah.
But, you know, my boy goes to this school as well, so I'm not going to, you know.
Yeah, there's no point in arguing with that.
No point arguing. But, I mean, every day there's a road rage. And we were talking about it the other day, about the amount of roundabouts that there are in this particular part of Madrid. And, 90,000 people living here in Rivas, and there's only 8 traffic lights. Yeah. So every intersection is a roundabout, basically.
Yeah, and as I say, I think 95% of the roundabouts are actually designed well. They're fine. 5% of them are pretty dodgy. But the biggest problem is the fact that a lot of people in Rivas have got no idea how to use roundabouts. And even those that do know how to use roundabouts, they use them wrongly, incorrectly. It's ridiculous. Yeah. In Spain, if you're in the right-hand lane going onto a roundabout, a 2-lane carriageway, you can actually go the whole way around the roundabout in the right-hand lane. And if you're in the inside lane, the left-hand lane, you have to actually indicate to pull over to the right-hand lane before you can actually leave the roundabout. And this causes problems because a lot of people stay in the left-hand lane leading up to the roundabout, and they try to go straight over the roundabout and follow on where they're going. But someone in the right-hand lane can actually turn left and cut up their journey. And it's the person on the left's fault because they shouldn't be cutting across the lane. Yeah. In England, that wouldn't happen because you cannot turn left if you're on the right-hand lane, which to me seems a lot more logical, and it does keep the traffic flowing. But here, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, the problem I have is the people not giving way.
Yeah.
So even when you're in the roundabout and you're going through, people are constantly still coming in. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, definitely, yeah. They're like, well, no.
Well, the rule is that once somebody's in the roundabout, you have to stop and give way to your left, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the rule. Yeah. Australia, give way to your right. Here, give way to your left. So you're in the roundabout, and cars are just constantly coming in. Yeah. You know, and you beep. I mean, I've had cases where I've missed cars like this, especially this one down here near the school, just down here on the corner. Even buses scream along that road.
Oh, the buses can be some of the worst offenders.
They just don't stop.
No. They're like, I'm in a rush, I'm a bus, and they just carry on going. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. Yep.
But anyway, that's some of the cases of road rage. And I've had some experience as well. I've never actually, got out of the car, but, sometimes you can get a little bit angry. And I remember one guy did get out of the car. He came towards me, and I stayed in the car and, said, if you want to go, we're going to go, but we're not going to go. I'm not going to go here. We're blocking the traffic, but, he came out of the car, guy in a suit, took his suit jacket off. He had the braces, the braces on. He was the typical executive that probably had a drink or two after lunch on a Friday, and, he was ready to go. But that's just because I beeped the horn. Didn't do anything else. Yeah.
I mean, I've never lived in a country where they've beeped the horn as much as they do here in Spain. It's constantly beeping the horn. If there was road rage every time someone beeped the horn, they'd be fighting all day. But I mean, you beep your horn when it's necessary. If someone's just about to hit you, you beep your horn, just tell them that you're there. You know, they might not have seen you or something. And people get stroppy about it. It's like,
yeah, they do. But anyway.
Yeah.
All right, good. We'll move on. Road rage. Yes, we'll move on. Now, a couple of questions that we had. There was one question that I think the person wrote it on 2 separate videos asking for us to comment on it. And it was about, can't remember exactly what it was. Let me just have a look and see if I've got it here. Hi, guys. Could you talk about leaving home and your families in the UK, Australia, how they dealt with it and how did you deal with it? You said that maybe we've spoken about this, or
we've mentioned it before in I think one of the earlier podcasts. So that we did mention leaving home and stuff.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem. I mean, you get homesick. I mean, everybody gets homesick every now and again, and every now and again, I still think that maybe if I had have stayed. What would your life be? I mean, you can own that's that's why everybody does the same thing. It's a question you have every
year. You think, what would I be doing if I'd stayed in the UK?
Sometimes things here don't go your way, and it's just the way it goes. As far as family goes, I think everybody adapts. Everybody goes about their day to day. Your mum and dad, obviously, in my case, I go home now, and after a week, I can see that they're happier without me than they are with me. Do you know what I mean? So you get that feeling, and I mean, life goes on, and people adapt to the situation. Everybody has to live their own life. I don't think you need to be within 5 kilometres of your parents for the whole of your life. Like a lot of people here seem to think that that's the key.
I mean, family's important, but I think some people go a little bit too far. Maybe they sort of don't want to cut any ties at all, and sometimes you need that independence.
Well, the family and friends thing, obviously, that's going to be the issue for a lot of people. And if you are somebody that relies on your family and your friends, then obviously it's going to be harder for you.
Yeah.
But nowadays it's a lot easier to communicate. You've got Skype, you've got WhatsApp here. You can, I call my mum on the video.
Much easier now than it was when I left home. I mean, I was writing letters to my mum and dad.
Writing letters, waiting at public phone boxes to,
I didn't have a mobile phone when I got to Spain. It was really expensive to call in UK from a mobile phone. So I always used the pay boxes, pesetas at the time.
And now with the internet, I mean, you've got podcasts. So if you miss, there's some things that you miss about home, like some radio programs. You can do that. You can watch your sporting events if that's something you miss as well. So I mean, it's a lot easier nowadays. You can read the press every day if you want as well. Like I said, call your mum on WhatsApp and.
I think one of the biggest keys
face-to-face conversations.
Busy.
Sorry,
I think one of the biggest keys to keep busy.
You do keep busy.
Yeah, I mean, when I came over, the first 3 years, I was homesick. I missed home a lot, missed the family a lot. But I was working ridiculous hours in Mallorca, and the one day off I had a week, I went out and enjoyed the day, went on day trips and everything. Yeah. So I didn't stop then. It was when I got to Madrid that I probably got more homesick. When I got to Madrid, there was probably a period of 6 months where I actually hated it. I hated living here.
Hated Madrid.
Yeah, I didn't like it at all. It was a big city. I was a country bumpkin, and it just wasn't me. I missed home, missed family, missed Mallorca as well. It was difficult. But I think the way I coped with it in the end was instead of sitting around bored and I haven't got any friends here, I haven't got any family here, I went out and did something. So that was when we set the cricket club up. I saw a message in the paper about the cricket club, and I literally spent a good percentage of my time organising the cricket club.
You saw a message in one of the expat newspapers.
Yeah, saw a message in there. Some guy, an English guy, was like, "Does anyone like cricket? Anyone want to get together, knock a ball
Tom?
Around?" Yeah, Tom. And it was me, Tom, and a guy called Alex, half Brit, half Canadian, and the three of us got together, started knocking around a tennis ball in a basketball court. Public one, and that was it. We bit by bit, a couple more people came along, and then a few more people, and then when we had enough people, we could actually pay to use this
British Council,
the facilities at the British Council School, and that was how it all started up. And that then, like, it gave me something that was English for me. It was a day where I could speak English, and people obviously gave me new friends, new contacts, where people I was constantly talking to every day by email or phone in English, and it gave me an escape. And that was where everything started improving.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I think that was probably necessary. I've never really needed to look for Australians or I mean, I joined the cricket club. I mean, that's where we met, of course. And another lady asked us where we did meet, and that was it. Back in the day at the British Council School, I remember Alex. I remember you being there, of course. Tom was the president at the time.
Yeah, he was the first president.
And as you said, other people in and out. Over the years, people that come, then they go back, and
I mean, I think I'm the only sort of person from the original year that's still involved in the club. Then we've got people that are sort of kept in contact. Say Tom has come back now, but he's not really. He's not involved in the committee or anything, and he doesn't play very often, but he's back.
Yeah, and of course you've got the established group there now, and there's a big Indian contingent, is there? Or got, Pakistani, Bangladeshis there now?
We've actually got about 11 nationalities that are currently playing in the club at the moment, but we've had a total, I think we counted up, 17 different nationalities
17?
Have played in the club at any time, but we've got about 11 that are still involved. We've still got quite a few Indians, got a few Pakistanis, Afghanis. We sponsor two Afghani refugees. We've got David, Scottish, that's another nationality. So we've got Scott as well. German, Nico, he's a German. We've got South Africans,
English, Spanish people as well.
Aussie. Yeah, we've got a couple of Spanish as well. Obviously, I mean the most important one really. Victor's the most active Spaniard in the club at the moment. Fantastic guy, and he really likes his cricket. And
that's it.
It's good.
That's it. So that's about that expat community. So if you live in a place like Madrid, this is another one of Nicola's comments. She said, what's the expat community like? And well, it's spread
out.
Well, I saw you said that. Yeah, it's very spread out. I mean, you can't. I mean, the couple of those people that we mentioned before. I mean, David, he lives in the other side of Madrid, and.
Yeah, I mean, just we don't get together that often outside of cricket, really, because of that. I mean, David lives over near Marqués de Valdillo. Tom was living in the centre. You got Adams living up in where is it? Alcobendas?
Yeah.
So it's spread all over the place.
There's people just all over the place. Yeah. But clubs like the cricket club bring people together.
Yeah.
There's probably. I don't know this for sure, but I remember there was like an Irish rugby club, and there's Irish bars where a lot of people get together. There's that pub called Triskel's where a lot of English people.
We still play them. They've got their own little mini pub team.
A lot of English people get together and have a drink. There's an Australia club called the Good On You Club, which is celebrating Australia Day over the weekend as well. Yep. Luis is involved. Luis.
Yep.
He's involved in that, and so there are clubs. But if you are going to come to a place like Madrid or Barcelona, you're not going to get the English-speaking expat communities like you're going to get in Valencia, Alicante, Malaga.
Groups. Yeah, you just got groups of people that tend to get together from all over the place. I mean, the other thing you've got is the church. If you're a religious person, you've got St George's Church, which is in Calle Mosilla. They've got groups there. I think they do different things and stuff down that way as well. They have the summer fair every year as well. So you've got the church there. I'm not religious, so I don't really get involved in any of that. Apart from we take the club there for the summer fair, support them a little bit as well. You got a football club as well, the British Lions, is it maybe football club?
Yeah, football club. Yeah.
So I mean, there's. And Aussie Rules as well, I believe.
There used to be. I don't know whether there still is,
Aussie
but there used to be one there for a while. I mean, I was playing in there as well.
Yeah,
for a few years. Of course, Aussie Rules. When you get older, it's not the best sport to be playing. So that's it. So there are these clubs all over the place, but the size of Madrid, the distances, and the cricket. I remember was in the British Council, so to go there to Somosaguas, which is on the other side of the city from here, it's a bit of a hassle. Then there was a ground down in Toledo or somewhere.
We've got we still use the ground in Sonseca, which is the other side of Toledo, but it's a dump. Literally, people just sometimes go.
There's a lot of travel involved, as you know.
It's an hour and 15 minutes by car.
But I mean, even if you want to play in the league, you got to go down to the coast, and there's a lot of travel involved. So it's not easy to get these things off the ground and to keep them running, to keep people interested.
We've got
I
nets
suppose.
Now,
Yeah, I saw that you've got nets. Yeah, and there's a few people. I see people contacting you on Facebook all the time. I'm here. How can I join the club? And I mean, that's the only way to really get that, to keep those expat communities together.
Oh, definitely. We have quite a good big turnaround. We've got our base club members, probably a good 15 people that are here all year round and live here, and they're not planning on moving anywhere. No. But then you've got people that are here for 3-4 years, got a contract with the company for 2 years, here for Erasmus for a year and a half. So it's just, you got people that are coming and going all the time.
People meet a Spanish girl, they come here to live, they break up, or whatever. And in our particular case, you just live down the road. So, which is pure chance. Coincidence, I think. So that's it. I mean, there are a few other people in the area as well. There's an English bloke that lives down the road there as well, and I know that a Scottish guy living in your old building, and there's another girl from I read
it's probably a good 20 Brits,
probably even more
Aussies, and that probably even more in Rivas. I mean, the population of nearly 90,000. I think there's quite a few people around, but I think when the people that come here to live in Madrid, we're not the sort of ones that need the expat communities.
No.
Whereas the ones that go to the coast, they tend to rely on the expat communities. They don't speak Spanish. They've got no intention maybe of speaking Spanish, a lot of them. They go there for the sun, the beach, the way of life, but
they want all the products that they've been used to eating for the last, for their whole life.
So I think we've come for different reasons. So when we come here, we look for something to give us a tie back to home, give us a break away from the Spanish life, but we don't need it every day, all day, like a lot of them do down the coast. I think that is a big difference.
It is. But anyway, on that note, we'll wrap it up. We've been going for a while today again. So thanks, John, for your participation.
No problem. We've had a few people asking about talking about Mallorca.
But I was going to get around to that, but obviously we don't have time this week. We'll do that next week.
But we'll just let them know that we'll obviously take that into consideration.
Right. I don't have any experience with Mallorca, so that's...
We can talk about other places you've been to.
Yeah, we could speak about Portugal maybe, where I spend most of my time nowadays outside of Spain. We could do that. So thanks for your participation. We'll be back next week. The weather's actually quite good, so looking forward to getting out into the street and filming a few videos. So we're going to be doing that as well, as I have said before. So questions or comments, leave them in the section below. You know where to leave them. Don't be shy. We try to, as I said before, we read all of the comments. We can't obviously reply to each and every one, but we read them. So that's we like to read the comments.
It's good as well. We like to know what you guys want to talk about, what you'd like to know about as well, and if we can help, we will. And if we can help you with experience and things, then obviously we're quite happy talking about experience here.
And we've got some competition at the moment as well.
Cool.
El País has started a podcast in English, and they've got an English guy and an Aussie girl talking about politics. So if you're interested in that, check them out. I think it's on the El País English webpage. Don't really think they're competition, obviously, being El País, but they're talking about different things that are happening from a political point of view in Spain. So check that out as well if you're interested. So we'll see you next week. Hasta luego.